Today we're going to be talking about the San Antonio Spurs and how perfect of an offseason they have had so far. Coming off of a disappointing exit in the NBA Finals where they lost to the New York Knicks in 5 games, the Spurs could have went into this offseason just sitting on their hands, just saying that we are young and we're going to come into next year better because our guys are going to just naturally progress. But they went into this offseason with an absolute mission. A mission to get better and not just run it back with the same team just because we're young. But they don't want to waste any of Wemby's window to win now, and his window started last season. They couldn't get it done, so they are going into this year just trying to get every way possible better. The problems they had last season were offense down the stretch to close out games. We saw that multiple times, not just in the finals but in the regular season throughout the playoffs, where they were just choking leads. They may have closed the game out, but they would be making a 20-point lead into like a 5-point game and having to close out what should have been a blowout. They also had rebounding problems at times. The bench, especially when Wemby was on the bench, was not great. The guard depth was great, but outside of that, those positions, the 2 and 1 guard, they needed some work done. So those are some of the problems they dealt with throughout last season, and they've addressed a lot of that this offseason. So with the bench needing some help on multiple ways, defense and offense and everything like that, they got to be smart, and not just with money, but with drafting. And they did draft very well. They went out and got Jaden Quaintance, I think it's Quaintance though, with the 20th pick, Terrace Reed, Jacoby Gillespie, and Malik Brown, all in this 2026 draft. Jaden has huge potential. If the medical staff in San Antonio can get his leg injury stuff all fixed up and get him healthy, maybe not like right away for the start of the season, but maybe midway throughout the year, or maybe he even just misses all of this season and goes into the 2027-28 season fully healthy, that would still be a great outcome for the Spurs, as long as Jaden Quaintance can just go into his season fully healthy, not have any issue with his leg, with his ACL tear, with his knee swelling up or anything like that. If they can have him fully healthy, that would be huge for them, because he is a nice 4-man, maybe 5-man. I think he's more of a 4-man in the NBA, honestly. He can play alongside Vic. He can play off the bench on the 4, maybe small ball 5. He is just really nice, and when he's healthy, his athleticism is off the charts, and he can easily take some minutes off Harrison Barnes if he is able to play this season, because he can just slash to the basket really well. Like I said, unreal athleticism, so when he's at the basket, he looks like he's floating out there, and he's big and strong and long as well. He has a crazy wingspan, and he uses that athleticism to also help greatly in defense. He has great defensive instincts as well. He's just such an all-around beast of a player out there, and if he can get healthy, like I said, that would be huge for the Spurs. And he's only 18, so he has so much room to grow in his game. But in this draft, as a finals contender, you have to get someone that is also ready to go right now, and they went out and got Terrace Reed, who is 22 years old, I believe, and can easily come in and play some backup center right away. He is game ready right now. We see it in Summer League. He's just consistently out there getting buckets at the rim, getting rebounds, just being a defensive presence. He doesn't have to be Wemby out there, but just be a big guy in the paint that you don't want to go at. Last season for the Spurs, there was multiple times where, whether it was due to fouls or injuries with Luke Cornett or Wemby, they had to settle with a guy like Kelly Olynyk or Bismack Biyombo getting real rotational minutes as a backup center, and that is just unacceptable if you are a title contender, especially when it comes to the playoffs or whatever. That is just too much of a task to handle when you are out there playing with Kelly Olynyk or Bismack Biyombo. No disrespect to them, they are just not to the level that you need in your most important position. So they went out and got a guy like Terrace Reed, who, if Luke Cornett's out, if Wemby's out, if there's some foul trouble between the two guys, you can go out there and confidently put Terrace Reed on the court, knowing that he's not just going to be a net negative out there. He can have his own points, he can get some rebounds, secure the glass, play some solid defense out there. He can just do the good things you need a center to do, and that is just an ultimate safety blanket that the Spurs needed last year, but now they'll have next year. The other two guys that got in the second round were Jacoby Gillespie and Malik Brown. Gillespie has looked actually really nice as a scorer in Summer League so far. elite shooting potential, all around good scorer. I'm not sure if he cracks the rotation this year just because of how deep this guard depth is on the Spurs with De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Dylan Harper. So I'm not too sure if Gillespie actually cracks the rotation, but like I said with the centers, foul trouble, injuries, or whatever, Gillespie is just a solid enough scorer out there where you do feel confident enough for him to go out there and get some 5 to 10 minutes a game. And then Malik Brown, who was their last pick of the second round, he has been actually a very good highlight for the Spurs in the summer league so far, just being just impactful on so many different ways in his role on the court. He's not the greatest scorer in the world, but everyone knew that going into the draft. He is a great defender, and we have seen that all throughout summer league. Just an absolute magnet to the ball, pokes it free, disrupts shots, passes, and dribbling. He's just everywhere defensively, and just like one of those game breaker defenders if he gets to that level of like a Lou Dort, PJ Tucker in his prime, like those type of guys who are just absolute disruptors on the court, especially on the perimeter. He also has some surprisingly good playmaking chops out there. He can also score the ball a little bit at the rim, and if he can get a corner shot down, he's going to just be a prototypical, very good 3-and-D type of player if he can develop that three-point shot with the Spurs. So the Spurs drafted really well, like I've said about the 4 past players, and I've loved how they played in Summer League. But the Spurs did a little bit more than just draft well. They addressed a position that they lacked most in, and that was power forward. It kind of felt like to me Julian Champagnie was playing out of position at that 4 spot on the starting 5. And not saying he can't rebound or defend or do power forward type things, but I just feel like he's more of a 2 or 3 and would work much better in those positions. The Spurs went out and got Tobias Harris for a very good contract in my opinion. 2 years, $31 million, which is about $15.5 million a year. Very solid value for a guy like Tobias Harris, who can go out for 30 on any given night, 25 for any given night. Not going to say he's going to average those, but he can just go out there and be an offensive threat anytime he's on the court. He can score on his own in the post from 3, mid-range, put his head down and get to the rim. Like, he is just an all-around 3-level scorer. Not going to say he's an all-star, but he is just a prototypical role player you'd like to put alongside a guy like Wemby, Castle, and Harper, and Fox, and all of them. And playing alongside those guys, he's probably going to be around the 3rd to 4th offensive option when he's on the court. And when you're playing alongside Wemby and Harper and all those guys, you are going to get more open looks than ever. You are going to get the least amount of defensive attention he has probably ever gotten in his career. So that can only help him offensively, just open up the court for him, get him better looks than he's ever gotten. And defensively, he's not going to make the Spurs any better, but I don't personally think he's going to make them any worse. If he can just stay out there, stay in front of his defender, Wemby will make up for any of Tobias Harris's mistakes out there. You got a 7'5" alien backing down into the paint, just being the best defensive player in the world. So Tobias Harris, I don't think he's going to hurt defensively. I think another part of his game that will translate very well for the Spurs is his rebounding and just being a big body out there. He's not the most greatest interior defender or rebounder or paint presence in the world, but just being a big body out there and being able to rebound and secure the ball, I think will just be a positive out there. When you have times and stretches like we've seen this year where they have struggled to secure possessions, secure rebounds, and hold offenses to just 1 attempt. Last season for Detroit, he averaged 13.3 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, shot 47% from the field, 37% from 3, and 86% from the free throw line. And he just brings exactly what the Spurs can use, some good offense and a guy that you can rely on to score the ball when you need it most, when your offense might be getting stale out there like it has before the season. The Spurs also did some things when it comes to contract negotiations and everything, and I really love what they did with this. They were able to get Julian Champagnie on a 3-year, $45 million deal, which is an absolute steal of a contract, $15 million a year for an absolute incredible role player, one of the top role players in the league in my opinion. Just an incredible shooter, one of the best shooters in the league today, and he's only gotten better over the last couple seasons. I remember probably 2 seasons ago or 1 season ago, Julian Champagnie, I did not like a lot of what he was doing out there. He was a good shooter, but he was inconsistent. Defensively, it felt like he was not there. Everywhere else on the court besides shooting, I just didn't like. He has just gotten better and better, consistently putting in the work and adding things to his game that have been just winning attributes that you like for your role players. He is, of course, a great shooter and just gotten more consistent with his shot as well, but also has gotten much better defensively, but also have been one of the best rebounders in his position. Like, he is just a great rebounder. He's just so good at getting to that ball when it's off the rim, and I've just loved what he has been able to do, and I believe he's only going to get better like we have seen over the last couple years. So $15 million a year for a guy like Julian Champagnie, I really do love that for him. And then also more recently, the Spurs were able to get the big fella under contract for 5 years, $252 million. Victor Wembanyama, the superstar of the Spurs, is locked up on the Spurs for 5 more years. And $252 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at what he could have gotten over $300 million, but he decided to take that sacrifice of $51 million just for the Spurs to have more financial flexibility to allow them to keep guys like Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle when their extensions come up. This move alone is huge for the Spurs' foreseeable future when it comes to keeping these core guys together. And the core guys I really mean of Wemby, Castle, and Harper. That big three is what you want to keep, like the Spurs did 2 decades ago or a decade ago with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu. You want to keep those guys because those guys will lead you to championships. Wemby understands that taking that pay cut, it's more than just money. It is what you want to keep around you, and he wants to keep Harper and Castle around him. The Spurs also signed back Harrison Barnes for a 1-year, $8 million deal. I'm not too crazy about this one, honestly, just because I'm not too sure how much Harrison Barnes is really going to play, especially with a guy like Carter Bryant, who's only going to get better. We saw him have a really good summer league game, and he's only going to get better. We've seen him progress throughout the season and going into his 2nd year. And then a guy like Jaden Quainance, who might not play to the beginning of the season, but once he does play, he's probably going to take those Harrison Barnes minutes. But I'm not too crazy about this deal, but I'm also not too mad about it just because Harrison Barnes is a good veteran out there, a guy who I guarantee is just great for the locker room, great to have around a guy like Wemby, Castle, and guys like them. So I'm not too mad about it. Harrison Barnes, a good veteran to have in the locker room. So I'm not $8 million. That's alright with me. The Spurs were also able to get Billy Donovan as the new lead assistant coach for Mitch Johnson after losing Sean Sweeney to the Orlando Magic. Right when the finals were starting, I believe that news had came out. They got a guy like Billy Donovan, who's just a great option to have on your coaching staff, especially when you look at what the Spurs struggled with last year. A lot of it was offense and consistent offense and offense being able to close games. And you go out and get Billy Donovan, who's a widely known offensive-minded coach. So you take what Sean Sweeney told you and taught you last year, who's a defensive-minded coach, and you get Billy Donovan this year, who's the offensive-minded coach, and hopefully that mesh of 2 ideologies with defense and offense meshed with this team, and they're able to just flourish on both ends. So that pretty much wraps up what the Spurs have been able to do this offseason. I have loved it in every perspective. If you are a Western Conference Finals champion, but you go on to lose in the finals, obviously something did not click fully for you to go all the way. And this goes for every team, really. Even the New York Knicks as the champions, everyone's getting better around you, so you do have to do something to get better. Not saying you have to go out and swing for the fences and go out and get LeBron or something, but just do little tweaks, little things here and there that'll help you in the long run, especially when you go out into next year as the Western Conference champions or the Eastern Conference champions with a target on your back. So that does it from me. I have loved what they have done. Let me know if you are a fan of the Spurs or any other team. How have you liked how your team has done in the offseason? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button down below, subscribe button, notification bell so you can be notified as soon as I upload, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.